And it is, what is it? It is June 27th. And this is episode number 42 in the ongoing series, An Introduction to A Course in Miracles, The Miracle Within. And I am back with the book. And we are going to be looking at a couple of interesting ideas from the Course in Miracles. First, we'll do our lesson, and I picked out a lesson that I think is very appropriate right now because a lot of people are suffering from a belief that they are a victim of the world around them. And of course, the Course in Miracles helps us understand that in actual fact, well, Kelly, I see that you've shown up, and this is all about A Course in Miracles, so I think you'll enjoy it. And hello to Diane and Charlie and all of my other friends that are joining me now. As I was saying, what we're going to do is start off with a lesson from the Course, and it is, what is it? It is lesson number 338. And it's very appropriate for our current times because as our political situation in this country is going through a massive amount of transformation, a lot of people are loading up on fear, buying into the idea that they're a victim or they will be a victim or, you know, somebody's out to get them. And the Course tells us that in reality, our thinking is what creates the world we experience. So, in truth, there are no outside forces. Everything is happening in your mind. And one of the ways that you can come to understand this in more detail is just review what goes on when you're sleeping at night and you're having a dream. And you're always the hero of the dream, the center of the dream. And there is this cast of dozens or hundreds or thousands of people that are populating the dream. But in reality, all of this is happening in your mind. So in that dreaming state, the world that you are creating is a reflection of a drama that your mind is generating during your sleep cycle. Well, in truth, in reality, this is just a secondary level when you fall asleep and you have a dream, because this world that we are living in is a dream as well. And even though we like to think there are heroes and villains and all these nasty, awful people, the truth is everybody that populates the dream is a reflection of some aspect of you. So in truth, your worst enemy is actually you coming at you with a gun or a knife or who knows, pitchfork or whatever it takes to ratchet up your fear. And that's exactly what we have collectively created in this current cycle of the dream. We really believe that there is huge gaps between all of us. The truth is we are all one. We are all part of one consciousness, one mind, one being. And we have created this idea of separation from God and separation from each other. And as that separation occurred, it happened on a multitude of different levels. One of the most important levels is, you know, after man separated itself from God, then man or woman, or however you want to envision it, decided to create a separation within that singular self that had separated itself from God. And that's where we came up with genders. And then it just snowballs from that point. It's just on and on and on. So this lesson, I think, is very, very important for us to ponder over the course of the rest of the summer, and then as we move toward the elections this fall. My sense of things is that we're going to be seeing a lot of fear and a lot of paranoia and a lot of people feeling like they have become a victim of this world and they have lost all of their control. And of course, when you're in that sort of a mindset, you become very, very irrational. You lash out at everybody around you. You live in a state of ongoing hysteria, and the fear just gets uglier and uglier and uglier. So this lesson goes, I am affected only by my thoughts. It needs but this to let salvation come to all the world. This recognition, this understanding. For in this single thought is everyone released at last from fear. And this is putting a lot of emphasis on the idea that as each individual begins to recognize that they're not an individual, but they are the collective, they are one of an infinite number of expressions of the one, then all of a sudden it becomes very lucid in your consciousness that everything that you do in this world has a significant impact. You may not be able to see it from your little ego's angle in the world, but the truth is every thought you have, every decision you make, every action that you put into motion has an impact. And we have to become responsible for how we are responding to ourselves and to those around us. It is very, very important for us to realize that we're only hurting ourselves by attacking others. We're only crippling our own understanding of life by proclaiming others around us to be stupid or to be, inferior or unfit or this or that. And we've found literally millions of different ways to attack ourselves. We have, the gender separation. Then we have color and language, and it just goes on and on and on. We have all these different philosophies and ideals and political positions, religious beliefs that are designed to polarize everybody away from us. So our little ego is very, very active and committed, and in some ways is very brilliant at generating this ongoing battle, this in actuality happening within this one consciousness. So it goes on to say, now has he learned that no one frightens him. So as we're progressing in the depths of this understanding, we begin to realize that what appears to be somebody else is in fact just a reflection of who you are, attacking you or giving you succor, being able to help you heal, whatever. It says, and nothing can endanger him. He has no enemies, and he is safe from all external things. Now, as we're looking at this kind of a philosophy, a lot of you are going to come up with the idea, well, the guy down the street hates me, and it wouldn't surprise me if he pulled out a pistol and shot me in the head one day. Well, that is contingent on one single idea, which is the idea that we are a body. Now, if we are invested deeply in our ego, we are entrenched in our physical body, and our physical body is very, very vulnerable. Everybody is always talking about how wonderful the body is, how it's such a perfect mechanism for life and all of that sort of rhetoric. The truth is, the body's a disaster. You know, and with one idea, you can you can pretty much encapsulate the whole concept of the body as being merely a momentary blip on the timeline. Just think of your appendix. If you haven't had your appendix taken out, then there's a time bomb right inside your body waiting to take you out. See, so there are all these different flawed ideas that we have collectively generated and supported and enshrined, and we worship it. We worship our belief systems. But the truth is, we are spiritual beings. We may appear to be in a body, but the truth is, at no point in time does the body actually exist. It's simply the shadowy image in our mind about who we were yesterday or who we will be tomorrow. But as you get to the point where you can stop the activity of the mind and experience the moment of now, you step out of the timeline and you suddenly have a realization that you are not a body, that you are much more vast, infinite, and invulnerable. The body is simply this little boat that we're riding, and unfortunately, the boat is got SS Titanic stamped on the back of it, so you know where it's headed. Anyway, as it goes on, it says, his thoughts can frighten him. And that's talking about you. When we're speaking of his or her, we're speaking about you. We're speaking about me. It says his thoughts can frighten him. But since these thoughts belong to him alone, he has the power to change them and exchange each fear for a happy thought of love. He crucified himself. See, and this is, again, how warped the thinking of the ego has become. We have allowed ourselves to indulge this ongoing dialogue that's happening inside our minds at all times. We're looking around us, we're analyzing things, we're objectifying people, we're objectifying our existence. We've shattered, the serenity of our true self, which is a spiritual being that is still residing in the mind of God. We put ourselves down for a dream, took a nap, and the dream has only one outcome, and that is the denial of our spiritual being and the allowance for the idea that death is real. So hanging on to the body means you're hanging on to that idea of death. And after a while, it just becomes tiresome. I mean, how many incarnations do you want where you are born, you live, you struggle, you strive, you achieve, you go down in failure, you do this, you do that. But at the end of all these adventures, there is that one final singular outcome over and over again. You croak. Death is an attack on God because we are part of God. And when we proclaim ourselves to be separate and to be apart from God and to be vulnerable and to be able to die, then we literally have rejected God's love, God's support, God's presence, God's activity, God's blessings, and God's peace. And the peace of God is the one thing I think that is a very important part of the awakening process. Because how much time do you spend each day in a state of being at peace? How often can you just sit and enjoy serenity and experience the world without a judgment, experience the world strictly as an observer, and withdraw your fears from the world as well as your blessings from the world, and get to that point where you just love life itself. See, that's what the peace of God is all about. That's what we're striving for. And if we begin to really ask for that peace of God to be restored to our consciousness, you will slowly begin to experience that in, varying increments. But that peace, as Jesus said, the peace that passeth understanding, is available for us. And that is a key element in our capacity to exit that role of the victim, to exit that identity of the ego. So as it goes on, it says, he crucified himself. And in the text, there's quite a bit in A Course in Miracles as far as that idea of crucifixion and what the meaning was. If you go by standard mainstream Christian understanding, then they associate God with this wrathful psycho nutjob that demands some kind of death in order to be forgiven for any imagined attempts to defile God's will. So the mainstream idea of God is a God that survives on death, that loves to see things slaughtered. It loves to see, sacrifice. And crucifixion, of course, is one of the more gory and one of the more classic forms of that kind of sacrifice, self-sacrifice. So all of us have this mental image where we associate Jesus with the sacrificial lamb, as it was stated. And in order to appease God's wrath and God's somewhat unbelievable state of being, state of mind, we have to kill something, kill someone, kill a human or a bird or an animal or something that is sacrificial. And A Course in Miracles comes along and examines the teachings of Jesus and separates all of the other parts of the Old Testament and even the New Testament that is devoted to this God called Jehovah, who is filled with fear and anger and death and revenge. And Jesus offers us a different idea about God, a God that is love and is so consumed with love that there is no other aspect of his or her or its nature that exists. There is no duality within God. There is no good part of God and bad part of God. God is a singular state of perfection. And that perfection is what we are trying to reclaim, because we were created in the image of God. So we are that same perfect being. So anyway, as it goes on, it says, yet God has planned that his beloved Son will be redeemed. And that's what we're invested in this journey with A Course in Miracles. We are looking for redemption. We are trying to get out of the trap of incarnating and having an adventure and then going down dirty over and over again. So to continue with this, it says, your plan is sure, my Father, only yours. So this is kind of an affirmation that we are going to be putting out to the universe to help convince ourselves that this is true and that this is the key to escape all of these trials and tribulations and ultimately death. All other plans will fail. So you can't make up a solution for the situation that you're experiencing here in this world. The ego has always got, oh, if we only had this, or if we only had that, if we strive and climb the mountain and attain this goal, we will be blessed. We will be swept up to a higher way of life. And that's simply not the way it works. It says, and I will have thoughts that will frighten me until I learn that you have given me the only thought that leads me to salvation. Mine alone will fail and lead me nowhere. But the thought you gave me promises to lead me home, because it holds your promise to your Son. And that thought, of course, is that I am as God created me. That's the only thing that you really have to focus on. Once you begin to dig into the depths of that idea and to ask for the revelations associated with that idea, you'll suddenly begin to experience yourself as a different being, as a different form of life. And you will go from the limitations of this body to an expanse of being that is limitless and that is filled with love and light. So that's kind of where things are at with our look at the lesson for the day. And we will take a look now at the book. And we have been looking at chapter 5. We are now flipping over into chapter 6, and chapter 6 is about the lessons of love. And one of the things that everything is predicated on is the idea of attack. If you're attacking somebody else, if you're displeased with someone and you have thoughts of, pushing them off a cliff or revealing them to be a fraud or whatever it is, however it is that you wish to approach it, any attack thoughts, because of that law of one, because of the fact that we are all one being, means you're going to be reaping the effects of those thoughts. So we really have to become mindful, and we really have to get to the point where our ability to forgive those around us is so amped up that nothing phases us. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Somebody steals your lunch out of your desk at work. All these different little ways that the ego has of entrapping us and attacking others, those are going to have to be surrendered. And you're going to have to realize, I am watching a movie about who I think I am. But the truth is, I am a spiritual being, I am a child of God, and I am currently residing in God, in the eye and mind of God, in eternity. But I'm just having a whacked out dream. So, moving forward with that, it says, as we have already emphasized, every idea begins in the mind of the thinker. Therefore, what extends from the mind is still in it. And from what it extends, it knows itself. So all of those hateful thoughts you have about somebody else is actually a cloyed way of self-loathing. And we do have that issue if we're identifying with the ego. At the base of the ego, at the foundation of the ego's thought system, is the idea of we are unworthy, we have sinned, we have attacked God, we have turned away from God's love. And so ultimately, we are despicable beings. And we don't want to look at that within ourselves. We want to keep that idea out of our conscious level of being, our conscious level of existence. So we store it away in the subconscious, and we imagine that it will go away. It'll just dissolve on its own. The truth is, the subconscious crafts all of these different images and brings them back to us. So every time you pass judgment on somebody, every time you tell somebody or think that somebody is an idiot or pervert or whatever it is that you're attacking with, basically that's coming back to you. That's coming back to a part of you that you are not willing to look at, that lies within the realm of the subconscious. And Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, countless numbers of psychologists and psychiatrists have come to this understanding. This is what they teach. This is what psychotherapy and various forms of psychoanalytical work are based on. It's the fact that the subconscious is this repository of all these images that we have about ourselves that we are consciously trying to avoid looking at. So spirituality, in truth, is a process of understanding the mind, because that's where everything is happening. And we have to get comfortable with ourselves before we can take that next step of the journey on our return to God. And that comes from the act of forgiveness over and over and over again. So going forward there, it says, therefore, what extends from the mind is still in it, and from what it extends, it knows itself. The word knows is correct here, because the Holy Spirit still holds knowledge safe in your mind, though through his impartial perception. By attacking nothing, he presents no barrier to the communication of God. Therefore, being is never threatened. Your godlike mind can never be defiled. The ego never was and never will be a part of it. So this little imagined mind that we have created in order to support an ego is just like a zephyr moving across, the treetops. It's a gentle breeze in many ways, even though we put so much emphasis on it that we allow it to have power over us. But the truth is, it's simply an idea that we entertained, and it seduced us. We allowed it to become real, but the reality of it is only within ourselves. So as it goes on, it says, you have taught yourself to believe that you are not what you are. You cannot teach what you have not learned. In other words, we've forgotten our true identity. And what you teach, you strengthen in yourself. So if you're teaching that everybody is a child of God and nobody is a sinner, then you're going to reinforce that idea within yourself. If you're out there attacking people, then you're going to reinforce these rather psychotic ideas that are part of the dream about, oh, he's an idiot, she's a this, they're a that. We've got all these divisions that we have created to keep ourselves in this comatose state and to continue to act out within the dream. And eventually, all of this has got to come to a point of cessation. At some point, every individual who has been or who will be is going to recognize, oh, I'm not an individual at all. I am a child of God. I am perfect. I am free. I am empowered. I am not a victim. I have no needs. I have no wants. I live and move and have my being in God. And that was what Jesus taught us. So anyway, that's the lesson, and a little bit of dialogue from the text for this first couple of days in summer of 2018. We just went through the equinox, and today we have the full moon. All kinds of bumping around in the heavens. The earth is spinning on its axis, and we're all attached to it in a profound number of ways. But when we begin to bless it instead of attack it, or want to hurt it, or want to violate it, or want to change it, even wanting to change it is a denial of the truth. And the truth is, every minute that we spend in this realm can be either a blessing to everyone around us, or it can be an extension of the way that we are cursing ourselves and those around us. So, summer opens its arms, warm and friendly and filled with growth and maturation, and you can see the pumpkins are starting to grow, the watermelons are out there on the vine, the grapes are starting to pop. All the joys of summer are there for you. So get out and enjoy life. But instead of looking at it with a critical eye, bless everyone and everything that you encounter, because you'll ultimately be blessing yourself. So anyway, we will reconvene in 1 week and take another look at the lesson and look at Course in Miracles. If you are interested in the course, but you haven't read it, haven't really examined it, my website, www.themiraclewithin.org, all one word, has a lot of information on A Course in Miracles. And it also has contact information. So take a look at the website, get out there and share the love, pass the love around. And I will be seeing you in 7 days, so celebrate life.